the things that was very interesting is I hadn't like really tested my hearing out, recently. And then we did that Elac review, and I'm like, I watched Joe's video after I did my video. I'm like, perfect. My ears still work. I have not lost it. And everything I came to we came to the same conclusions. He also did the measurements, and I was just like, all right, cool. My ears will work. Fantastic.
That's always good. And Erin, you have something coming up soon. Are we allowed to talk about like your
Hold on. No. I've got what coming up soon? Sorry.
Elac.
Yes. Oh. Yeah. Sometimes I'll make one. I made one yesterday, and it's just about the Klippel, because people will ask me questions about, the Klippel, or they'll make assumptions, and I thought I just need to do a video of me doing this like a demo in real time so people understand. And I didn't plan on posting it for another week, but now I'm just itching because it's just sitting there in my YouTube queue, just ready for me to hit public.
Just hit public.
Yeah, I know. But I don't want to release like one video every day because I'll do that. I'll do like 2 or 3 videos in a row and then not do anything for 2 or 3 weeks.
so maybe just schedule it then.
I can't help it though. I want to just go ahead and here you go. Just I'm so excited about this cool thing. Here, everybody watch. And then like 500 people watch, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, do it. Lay it out there.
I'm so glad that you have the measurements and all that because and by the way, I still want to see your predicted in-room response so I can see how mine's going.
You know what?
Basically, I do my basic measurements and then I check to see if I'm off. Like if I'm way off, then maybe I shouldn't be showing my measurements. But for the most part, they kind of they look pretty decent. You know what I mean?
Most of the time they've been pretty close to the PIR, the predicted in-room response from my Klippel measurements.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I'm going to send it to you right now.
Space. Yeah, I just have this new space, so I don't know, what it's doing. So it would be helpful. But yeah, I'm excited to see your review. I think
I just dropped it to you literally just now.
There we go.
Yeah. Right. I like the speakers. What sucks is that I managed to blow a tweeter, but that's a HiFi daily exclusive. I still haven't told Elac about it. I'm just like,
they're watching in the chat. I saw them earlier. Hey,
you're fine. You're fine.
Yeah, I figured. It's just a tweeter. So even if they do charge me for the replacement of it, then, but I figure, I've messed some other stuff up, not physically, I guess, I've blemished them or something like that, just taking them out of the package or testing, and they're always like, whatever, don't worry about it. Yeah. Because when they send them around, I guess they expect some kind of damage to occur when it's a demo unit that gets sent around to people.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Michael, remember that one Vanuatu that Channa get that we always tease him about with the tweeter? Those those all messed up, and he said that it was in the box like that. I'm like, nah, you picked it up from that tweeter. He's not here right now. I'm like, that
he can't defend himself.
That doesn't
talk about him while he's not here.
Yeah, when Polk sent us theirs, I was worried about that little pointy tweeter, man. I'm like, I kept bumping it. I'm like, I'm gonna damn.
Oh yeah.
Just sticking out there.
I'm looking at this in-room response, which I won't show. I'll leave it for you, but
you can show it.
Pretty. Some of that looks pretty smooth, man.
Go ahead and show it.
Looks pretty smooth.
Yeah, if you want to show it. That's fine with me. I've got a theory on it, and it's not like I'm trying to be secretive about it. It's just kind of my theory. Is I think because it has a wider dispersion pattern than other concentric or coaxial drivers, that they made the on-axis response tilted down just a little bit. So that way, when you are in the seated position and you get the on-axis and the reflected sound, it's not bright. So you're not getting a lot of energy at you directly from the speaker and from the sidewalls. So I think it's actually, when you look at it like that, it actually looks pretty good. It's got a smooth slope to it. Yeah, it's just
good to me.
The only thing that kind of gets me is that around that 200 hertz region, that dip. So I actually took the speaker outside and I measured it in a ground plane method and made sure, and it's still there. So that is the speaker.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it looks to me like the port tuning is a little bit lower than the roll off maybe of the woofer. It's hard to say for sure. But that's what I'm thinking. I think that's maybe why there's a little bit of a gap there, because the woofer maybe is starting to want to roll off a little bit in the enclosure, and then the port tuning coming in a little bit too low. So maybe if the port tuning were bumped up like maybe 10 hertz, it might smooth that out even more. But that's a working theory right now. I really don't know. And I want to ask Andrew or the guys at Elac about it, but the way that I try to do my reviews is I try not to paint a wrong picture, but I try to like put the stuff out there first. That way I'm not influenced and people don't say, well, you're talking with these people behind closed doors. I don't want to deal with all that garbage. So
Yeah.
I'll talk
I mean,
with
for
them
me, I
after
do it just to
publish
make sure I'm not doing something like ridiculously like,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
something
no,
stupid.
definitely.
And
So if I measured it like this and it didn't look right, and then I did a ground plane and the ground plane didn't match, then I would definitely be like, okay, something's wrong, and I would try to figure out what's wrong. But since the ground plane matches, like the outdoor ground plane method matches that, then I'm confident in the measurement. It's just interesting.
Now think about this. The flip
So-
side of it is more than likely they've done their own measurements.
Right.
If there's that dip, they know that's there.
Mhm.
It might be beneficial to know why that's there or why
That's
they
true.
chose, and just get their perspective. You already know it's there. You've already got the data that it's there. That's not going to change.
Yeah.
But you might want to say, okay, I spoke to Elac and here's what they said about that. And then let your audience figure out, what they want to believe.
Yeah, no, that's actually a really good and fair point. It's just, I kind of struggle with that. Like, which one do I do? So I don't know. And to me, I don't care. But
Yeah.
Hold on. I saw somebody say something.
It said
Channa,
nice
I see
embedded
Narcos.
house curve. One thing to know about this is the predicted in-room response. So this is actually kind of like a calculated response based on axis, off axis. Right.
Yeah,
So
there's
physical
some
measurement.
percentage
It
of the
should
on
ha-
axis. Yeah,
It should kind of have a downward tilt typically, right? Like that's kind of what you want.
that is more based off of research. It's kind of shown that most people prefer a downward sloping response in the seated position. So when people talk about, like, I don't like a flat response, and they kind of confuse that with anechoic flat, because those are two totally different things. Anechoic flat is like there's no reflections, it's not in your room. But in room is going to be a culmination of on axis and off axis. So the idea is that you would want a more downward sloping response, so it doesn't sound maybe too bright, too trebly, for a lack of better words. Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of it. And there are different ways that you can go about getting there. And I'm looking at, when I saw that and I saw the on axis response, I thought to myself, man, I really have a feeling that they targeted the estimated in room response and not so much the on axis response. And they took that trade off.
I think you got it. I think you got that exactly right. I think that's the type of thinking that I would expect from those guys.
Yeah.
From Andrew Jones. It's like, you know what? Like, this is the bottom line: is how is it going to sound in most rooms? Let's try to target that. I'm not, but like, look at the way this looks. My thing was, I've measured powered speakers with DSP that don't look that good. This is a passive speaker. And so that's kind of why I'm surprised. Like, if you're using DSP, you can get that. That's reasonable. But with passive, it's not often that I see something like that smooth, I guess.
But what's crazy is if you looked at just the on axis response, you're like, ooh, because it doesn't look great. It's got some weird things going on in the high frequency.
It doesn't.
And I'm thinking it's just like combing or something with the tweeter and the mid range or something. So if you look at that, you're like, ooh. But when you go off axis, just like 10 degrees or so, it smooths that out. So that's another thing. That's another reason that the data is good to have. And you kind of got to understand what the data is telling you, because if you look at just one measurement and you don't make the right conclusion, then it can lead people astray. So you really kind of take the whole package.
Well, when I talked to Andrew Jones, he said on axis is always going to be the worst for concentric or his design.
Yeah,
he said on axis is always going to be the worst. I forgot his explanation as to why, but he said we always measure 10 degrees off and optimize there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So does that mean that he recommends like towing them out a little bit so that they don't hit you dead on?
Yeah, I would think so.
Is that kind of the thought there?
Yeah, I would think so. I think the reason you get like a lot of waveguide, like horn tweeters or speakers like that, they often have some on axis dips and bumps. And that's just the trade-off of trying to use a waveguide. So it's really hard to make a really good waveguide that doesn't have those kind of things in it. I see them all the time. KEF really does a really great job, but you're paying, for example, the KEF R3, their bookshelf with the 5 1/4 inch midwoofer. Is it 6 1/4 inch? You guys, they're $2,000 a pair. So it's twice the price of these Elacs. Do I think they're twice as good? I don't know. I definitely love the KEFs. But I think the Elacs are kind of a good entry level, into a good coaxial design, because coaxials have a really good soundstage. They do some really cool stuff in the soundstage that I like a lot.
Yeah, I think we all agreed on that one.